So if this bill becomes a law, I mean, we are entering a full-fledged police state. Any opposition will be brutalized into silence. Now, that is something we must safeguard against. Honourable Speaker, sir, I stand on behalf of my party, the All India Trinamool Congress, to oppose the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2020, which was introduced by the Minister of State in this House last week. It was a repealment of the original Identification of Prisoners Act 1920. The introduction of this bill was met with very vigorous protest by the opposition, and in one of the very rare instances that I have seen, that an introductory stage of the bill itself, we had sought a division. The original Act of 1920 was passed by our British colonizers, and they did this in 1920 to control nationalist forces and increase surveillance. And they had authorized authorities to take photographs, to collect footprints, and to collect palm prints, fingerprints of convicted people, and also in certain cases non-convicted, and store them. Now, how tragic is it, how ironic that a century later, 100 years later, that we have an elected Indian government. This is not a British era colonizer. It is an elected Indian government who claims to be more nationalistic than any of its predecessors. And today you are bringing in a law that is more intrusive, that collects more data than the original law, and has fewer checks and balances, fewer safeguards than even the British era law did. It is very ironic. The stated objective of the Criminal Procedure Bill of 2022, which was introduced, as set out in its statements of objects and reasons, is to update the law by taking into account new techniques of measurement and identification that have evolved over the last century. And the bill seeks to authorize police and prison officers to take measurements of those who have been arrested, detained, convicted, of any person directed by a judicial or executive magistrate. The key words here are any person. The bill has redefined the term measurement to allow police to take retina scans, iris scans, fingerprints, palm prints, footprints, physical and biological samples, and even behavioral attributes, which are what? Which is your signature, which is handwriting. So anything that is referred to under Section 53 or 53 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 falls within its ambit. The original Act, remember, was only photographs and palm prints and fingerprints. This has increased the ambit. So what is it that is so dangerous about this bill? I'm going to try and explain it in layman's terms so everyone who's watching this can understand how this affects us. Because I remember opposing the UAPA bill, in those days a bill, standing here, and the Honourable Speaker told me that, why are you getting so excited about this? Ye to aatanwadiyon ka liye hai. And I remember answering, saying that, sir, if this bill comes in, tomorrow there is a risk of all of us becoming aatanwadis. And the UAPA has been misused, and today we have a fear that this bill itself may be misused, which is why we are standing up today. This law is being proposed in the absence of any overreaching data protection law, which India so desperately needs today. 5 years ago, we mentioned the data protection law. It is still not being brought in. You are saying that there has been advance of technology in the last decade, which is why we need to repeal it. But with the advance of technology, there is a flip side. The state has even greater powers of surveillance. So when we in this House authorize any legal expansion of the ambit of these powers, we need to ensure that these powers can be controlled, can be regulated. The old Act was only photographs and fingerprints. Now you've added retina, you've added biological samples, behavioral. So we are signing off, basically all of us, on much greater powers of the state. So we need to put in very solid safeguards. This bill has no such safeguards. The malefides of this bill are apparent not only in the unconstitutional provisions it seeks to enforce, but it seeks to blur out all distinction, any and all distinction between an under trial, a detainee, a suspect, and a convict. And it is using the words a person involved in any crime. It's a very broad sweep. The expansion of this ambit of the law's operation to people who have been arrested for any offence include people under preventive detention laws. So therefore, the privacy of individuals who are not convicted of any wrongdoing are being put at the mercy of the state. If I would like to quote Faiz Ahmed Faiz, who said, "Teere ilzam bhi, sange dushnam bhi." So you're putting not only ilzam, you're also giving us infamy. The 1920 law enabled the taking of measurements from convicts sentenced to a prison term of at least 1 year, and anyone arrested on a charge that attracted a prison term of only 1 year, and thirdly, one who has furnished a bond for good behavior. This present bill includes all convicts and anyone arrested under any law or detained even under preventive detention. It is increasing the offences from minimum of 1 year to 7 years imprisonment under Section 3. But as Mr. Tiwari pointed out, the proviso to Section 3 has been very poorly drafted. If it is intended to mean that a person who has been arrested with a connection with an offence punishable with less than 7 years, it is a good thing. However, the use of the word may in that section itself is an escape route, because when you use it with the power of the magistrate to order the taking of measurements, it is nullifying this beneficial aspect of this proviso. So if Section 3 read with Section 5 and the introduction of preventive detention is making this far more draconian than the existing law, I would really request you to look into this. So I suggest that the word may in Section 3 be changed to shall. And it be clarified that under Section 5, the magistrate has no power to direct a person arrested for offences punishable with less than 7 years. Otherwise, Section 3 is completely nullified. Another dangerous thing about this bill, the average life expectancy of Indians is 69.6 years. You are permitting the retention of records for 75 years. And you're allowing the National Crime Records Bureau, the NCRB, to share and disseminate personal data with any law enforcement agency. This violates the best practices of data protection, which is the principle of purpose limitation, which means that you can collect data legitimately for one purpose, but it must be used for that purpose. It cannot be used for another purpose. There's a very vague term in this bill. It says investigation and prosecution of crime. So you can have agencies all over the country with no purpose limitation having access to your personal data. And the collection of data for personal data for some crimes may be very necessary. We understand that. But there is no distinction between those crimes and other crimes. It's a very wide sweep, which can be very dangerous. Now, this bill will make the dreaded Thanedar, even more dangerous. It gives virtual carte blanche to the police for sample collection. The old 1920 Act authorized police officers of the rank of sub-inspector and above. This new bill is letting police officers not below the rank of a head constable and prison officers not below the rank of a head warden to take measurements. So it's lowered the threshold. And if you refuse to take these measurements, that is an offence under Section 186, which is obstruction of duty for public servant, as Mr. Maran pointed out, of the IPC. Now, this bill is allowing police and prison officials to collect measurements regardless of the refusal. This is a violation of fundamental rights, and this is going to shut out any dissent. This is the vagueness and overbreadth of several provisions is extremely concerning. Now, there's no appeal mechanism. If the magistrate says directing it, there's no appeal mechanism against the decision of the magistrate. The most dangerous and insidious aspect of this proposed law is the grouping of those booked for preventive detention. So Indian citizens, like all of us sitting here in the opposition, we can be arrested or detained even before the commission of any act of criminality. You may think we will do something, you may think we will say something, and we could be put under preventive detention. So before doing anything, you can take me and I will be grouped with those arrested for serious offences and convicts. So if this bill becomes a law, I mean, we are entering a full-fledged police state. Any opposition will be brutalized into silence. Now, that is something we must safeguard against. The Home Ministry says, trust us. Yes, we would like to trust you, Mr. Home Minister, but even in UAPA, look at its misuse. You brought in this bill, look at its misuse. I was looking at Mr. Kishan Reddy, who was our Minister of State for Home, putting out the numbers. And if you look at the increase in the number of UAPA cases, from 16 to 19, 5,000 cases were registered and 7,000 people were arrested in the period 16 to 19, but only 2.2% of cases were resulting in a conviction. Preventive detention, 177 politicians arrested in Kashmir after revocation of Article 370, 71 from National Conference, 35 from PDP. When the CAA protests happened, 1,100 people were under arrest, 5,500 kept in preventive detention. There was a 28% increase in the number of sedition cases filed each year. Each year, 28% increase between 14 and 20. So if you look at the arrest of journalists, detentions of journalists in India, I was reading a report by the Free Speech Collective, and it said in the last 10 years, 154 journalists in India were detained, arrested. 67 of these were in 2020 alone. I'm going to now read a quote from the Supreme Court judgment, the state of Andhra Pradesh versus Challa Ramakrishna Reddy, year 2000. The right to life is one of the basic human rights. It is guaranteed to every person by Article 21 of the Constitution, and not even the state has the authority to violate that right. A prisoner, be he a convict or under trial or a détenu, does not cease to being a human being. On being convicted of crime and deprived of their liberty with the procedure established by law, prisoners still retain the residue of constitutional rights. Our democracy, however flawed, seeks to give each Indian equal rights as human beings. Our laws are based on the principle of innocent till proven guilty. I will quote the poet Javed Akhtar, and he says it very nicely. He says, "मुझे दुश्मन से भी खुददारी की उम्मीद है, मुझे दुश्मन से भी खुददारी की उम्मीद है, किसी का भी सर, कदमों में सर अच्छा नहीं लगता, कदमों में सर अच्छा नहीं लगता." This bill places the privacy of individuals at the mercy of the state, allows for the retention of personal data with no framework for data protection whatsoever. I appeal to the government and to the Honourable Home Minister, please send this bill to a standing committee for further deliberations if you don't take it back. Thank you very much. Very good, very good.